Hello, welcome to another exciting edition of Clockwise by Netisen. It's another exciting moment where we are going to discuss the new world, the tech world, its advantages, the challenges, and the various in-demand skills that can give you a tech advantage to earn in dollar and to spend in naira. But do not forget that Clockwise is sponsored by Netisen Nigeria, the biggest ICT hub in Akwa Ibom State. And today we're having a very interesting conversation, with a very interesting guest, but you're going to meet him after this break. Thank you very much. All right, welcome back. As I said earlier, we have a mind-blowing specialist in the house. Somebody that has evidence and has results. I'm talking about somebody that's into UI UX design. Please give a virtual welcome round of applause to Mr. Mokudumfon.
Yeah.
Welcome,
really nice
brother.
to meet you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let's go straight to the point.
Okay.
Now, who is a UI UX designer?
Well, a UI UX designer is somebody who can balance the business needs of a company with the user needs of the audience.
Okay.
Basically, a UI UX designer is somebody who combines the business needs of the company and the users and the audience at large by using various tools such as maybe Figma or any other software tools
Okay.
to translate the business needs of the company by the users into a better or more fruitful option
Okay.
for the users.
You know, in the product management sector, people always conflict different roles.
Okay.
Like some people don't know how to differentiate between a UI expert, a UX expert, a product manager, a product designer. Please, who is a UI designer, a UX designer? Are they the same thing?
No, they are not the same thing.
Okay.
First of all, UI stands for user interface.
Okay.
UX stands for user experience.
Okay.
They are very different in the sense that user interface stands for the medium between the user and the product itself.
Okay.
It's the interface, that's the software medium.
Those icons.
Yes, the
those
icons, the typography, the shapes, buttons, and how the website looks.
Okay.
While the user experience deals with how the user feels. The user, I mean by the people who use the apps or the product, how the user feels when using the app. The response the user gets when using the apps, the user journey, and how the product fulfills the user's needs.
Okay. Now, I want to give an example. I don't know if I'm right, but just correct me. I want a more relatable form. You understand? Let's assume I want to relate this to what you've just explained. Let's assume that you're going on a blind date. Do you understand?
Yeah.
A date, a blind date. You've never met this person before.
Okay.
Can we say the user interface is how the person dress, how the person looks, how does the person, should I say, smell? Do you understand? Can that be the user interface? Why the user experience could be this person that you're going to meet, how the person behaves, to keep your attention. Can that scenario be right?
Not exactly.
Okay.
But I get your point. Before you go
just twist the scenario for me.
Before you go on a date, first of all, you ask yourself, do I know this person? Will I be cool with this person on this date?
So that's user what?
That is user research.
Okay.
User research is under user experience.
Okay.
Because before you build out a product, before you start designing for the users, you have to make research on the users.
Okay.
For example, maybe you're starting out to build a product that maybe you don't know which audience to build for. How product designers go about that is, first of all, you conduct research. Preliminary research.
There must be research first.
Yes, there must be research first before you go on anything. Just like the scenario you pointed out, that you want to go on a date to somebody, a blind date to somebody. First of all, even though it's called blind dates, you have to know something about the person. You have to know at least, okay, now, is this person cool with this place, the restaurant you go to first?
Okay.
How is this person going to react to this? You ask the person that directed you to the person, okay, what does this person like?
Okay, that's research.
Yes, that's your research that you have to
there
do
is
first.
research first.
Yes.
Then from
before
there,
anything, you
user
have to
interface.
Yes.
Okay, so where does the experience comes in?
Okay, there are 5 steps when you are going into UI UX.
Okay.
In this time, somebody that does both UI and UX is called the product designer.
Oh, mean that you can specialize in one.
You can specialize in UI. You can specialize in UX.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you do the two, you are now a product designer.
Yes, you are a product designer. That means you can handle both the UI and the UX. Now, first of all, in product design, there are 3 steps that you have to go embark on.
Okay.
First of all is the empathize. In the empathize phase, you actually have to. That's when you do the research, the prelim, the first stage research, because you don't know. You have the idea in mind. You have the idea of building this product, but you don't know whether this product will be marketable. People will like this product.
Okay.
So that's when you do the research and say, okay, now, what are the user needs? What are the user pain points? How can we bring this idea to life? And how would it solve the problems in the user's life?
So from what you're saying, I would say UI UX is more of solving problems.
Yes, you're a problem solver basically.
Okay. And another thing I've deduced from what you just said is that it's more of understanding the psychology of people.
Yes.
Because how would this person take this thing?
Yes.
How would this person take this thing? Okay.
Yes,
If that's the case, I've had issue where people say, okay, I'm an introvert. What kind of tech skill should I learn? I'm an extrovert. What kind of tech skill should I learn? Now, do you necessarily need to have, you can be a creative, but you're not a designer, like a creative person.
Okay.
You get me? Yeah. You are very creative. You can get ideas and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Now, do you necessarily need to be a designer? Understand colors, how colors match to be a good UI UX designer? Must you be a designer?
You must not be a designer, to be specific.
Okay.
But having the design skill is important.
Okay, you must not be a designer.
Some people might specialize in research only. There are people that call themselves UX researchers. So what they do is they will just do research and everything that has to do with research, understanding the user psychology. Then all the data they get, they'll transfer it to the UI designer. Okay. Yes. Some people specialize in that, but it's really important that
all those roles will play together.
Yes, you have to work in tandem with your if you're a UI designer. That's what I really lean into for me. If you're a UI designer, you actually have to work with your user experience designer too. Okay. But now, first of all, working with your experience designer, you also have to understand, okay, now, as a UI designer, you have to understand the UX too. It's really important. Even though you are creative and maybe you want to go into this kind of field as an introvert, it doesn't really matter. The reason I say it doesn't really matter is that at the end of the day, you are building something for people to use. Okay. You cannot say, okay, I am an introvert and I don't really like going out or something like that, or maybe I don't really like talking to people. You are building something for somebody. You don't want to build something that only you use now, obviously. You cannot just build something and you're only the one using it. Well, some people do that. Okay. Some people do that. They only build products for themselves. But actually, if you want to, like you said, you want to earn in dollars and
spend in naira.
So we have to build something that somebody will give you money for.
Now, I want you to still lay emphasis on the place of research in UI UX, because from everything you're saying, what you correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. What you do is that you build a model.
Yes.
For a developer to
prototype.
Build. Okay, for a developer to build.
Yes.
So what it means is that research plays a pivotal role.
Very, very important. You cannot do any design.
So how do you do this research? Do you go out there to start? Do you do questionnaires?
Okay, there are many types of research. Okay. There are qualitative and quantitative research.
Okay.
Quantitative research might go into in the form of maybe surveys. You send out massive surveys to maybe in an instance where maybe you don't have a base audience already. You have to do.
So the survey is not for a particular audience?
Yes. You just have to do, okay, now how will people respond to this product that is not already on the market?
Okay.
Because there are actually some products that are on the market that, okay, you have a user base already, that you can target this particular user base. But at this point, maybe the product you're building, there's no market for it yet, or very little market for it. So you actually have to see now how will people respond to this. So the qualitative, you can send, quantitative, you can send out maybe surveys or something.
Okay.
Surveys. You can actually do interview for both qualitative and quantitative.
Okay.
So there are many forms of research. It just depends on the type of project you're building, the money involved, the allocation, the budget involved to do the research, and the business, the stakeholders involved.
Okay.
Because
are there possibilities that after all this that you've done, and you send a model to a company, the company rejects it?
Yes, there are.
So what will you do at that point?
Because
what you are saying, you are a bridge between the company and
the user
and the company.
Yes.
Now let's say now you've done this research.
Yeah.
You get me? You've gotten your data.
Yeah.
Now you've built out a model.
Okay.
But the company does not want to accept the model because the company is not good for research. So how do you handle such situation?
Well, if the company wants to sell, if the company wants to sell, they'll have to
because whose interest will you actually push? Is it that of the company?
Well, it's as a designer, your first interest will be the users. That's the first
product.
The first interest should be the users, because the users are the people using your product.
Okay.
But now you have to balance the needs of the company involved. The business plan, they also have to make money.
Yes.
Because there's a way you can go for the users, build product for the users. The users are using it quite well, but you don't really have any
not making money.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
So you have to balance it. You have to see the needs of the users. You have to actually have to see the needs of the company. And the point is, good designs actually bring more sales for the company.
No, I'm hearing design. It means that you don't do more than one design.
You do many.
You send plenty models.
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Okay.
For the company to choose.
That's not how it works. After the research, like, let me go back to the 5 steps involved. Let me just run through it. There's the empathize phase. The empathize, you gather all the research and everything. Then there's also the define stage.
Okay.
That's where you define the problem. Okay, what are the themes I'm seeing here? What do people really respond to? When you get the theme, then you actually have to do the ideates. That's when you bounce off different ideas with your, maybe if you are the product designer, you bounce off ideas with maybe your designers, your developer, other designers, or maybe developers. You bounce off, like, many people are involved, even your stakeholders, the people in the company, the higher ups. You actually have to bounce off ideas so that when you present the design, it will not be as if, where did this thing come? Where did it come from? Okay. So you actually have to bounce off this.
So a UI UX designer must be an integral part of a company.
Yes.
That takes me to another question. Meaning that you cannot work remotely.
You can't work remotely.
Then how do you balance?
Many people work remotely.
Then how do you
balance?
There
are various tools that can.
How do you balance this? Because if you're to work remotely from your home, then how do you balance? How do you understand the psychology of the company?
You see,
because you have to balance this.
You have to balance. You can't work remotely. You can't. The reason why I said you can work remotely is because people even do freelancing jobs with this design. Maybe they work for 3 months or 6 months or something. The importance is communication between you and the company and your users. That's just the important thing. Every day you have to be in constant contact with the people you are building for, and also the people that you are designing, like the company you are designing for. So it's really, really important, because one thing with design, maybe maybe I understand the point of developers. Maybe developers, they might, all somebody needs to do is just send you everything, all the details, and you just start building and you go from there. But with the design, it changes. There's no stagnant design. Something might work very well today, but tomorrow it doesn't work very well. So it's actually very fluid. That's why there's always need for constant back and forth with your users and the stakeholders involved. So that's the thing. After the ideate phase, you go into the building the prototype.
Okay.
That's where you ask me, okay, now, what if you build something and they reject it?
The company say no.
That's why it's called the prototype.
But you build again.
You have to go back to the drawing board. You go back to the drawing board and you go back, maybe see what's wrong. The company, at the end of the day, all what the stakeholders want to do is they want to sell. So if your design, your users respond favorably to your design, it's actually a plus for them.
Okay.
So when you bring the prototype and you see, okay, it doesn't work. After you build the prototype, the point you're saying now is the testing phase. That's where you test it with your users.
Okay.
You also
so
test.
You must always follow this laid down procedures.
Yes, it's really, really important. You can start anywhere, but you have to go through the motion. You have to. It's like a cycle. Okay. You have to go through this cycle over and over again till you get the most optimized product for the market.
Okay.
Maybe you can when you test with users, maybe gets maybe an average rating of maybe over 100%, maybe 80%.
Okay. Now, when we are back from this break, I would like to know how you make money, because what you're saying is looking somehow. But I'd like to know when we are back from this break. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Welcome back, and we are still with Mfon, the UI UX designer. Okay, now I would like to ask a very simple question. Because of this confusion, you said something. You said, now once you are good in UI and UX, you become a product designer. So what's the difference between a product designer, a product manager?
Okay.
You understand? People have had this confusion in this sector. What's the difference between a product designer and a product manager? What do they do?
First of all, like I said earlier, the product designer combines the skills of the UI designer and the UX designer or researcher.
Okay.
With some few.
No, please use designer. When you say UX researcher, yes, you've told me 3 things: UI designer, UX designer, UI UX researcher. Is that not
the
so?
UX researcher? Is the UX experience, like user experience designer, is also a researcher.
Okay.
So combined.
What is the skill? What is the skill that particular sector or that particular person focuses on? Is it psychology?
Yes, psychology.
More of psychology.
Yeah, understanding the user needs, the pain points, and how
coding,
to solve the problem.
No drag and drop.
Well, any skill, any technical skill, you have to know a bit of coding. You have to, at least if you don't know how to code, you have to.
The researcher also do drag and drop.
You have to know how the code works, not necessarily how to code, but you have to know, like, how does it work, how does it relate to design. That's where you can understand the user better. It's actually is a plus. It's not necessary, but it's a plus, because that way you can understand users better. But going back to your question earlier, the question was, difference between the product
manager
and the
product designer.
First of all, like I said earlier, the product designer combines the skills UI, UX, and some other skills. Okay. While the product manager deals with finalizing it deals with starting the project and finishing the project.
Like a supervisory role.
Yes. Okay. Deals with managing the developers, the designers, and everybody involved with making the project feasible. Okay. So that's the work of a product manager. Okay. Manages the timeline, schedules meeting, what else? Works with agile teams Scrum, all the things like that.
Okay. Now tell me the skill. What skill do you need to actually be a good UI UX designer? What skills?
Well, I would say the most important skill,
apart from the research skill you've talked about, because you talked about research skills, you talked about psychology.
Yes.
So what other skills do you?
The most important skill is problem solving. That I would say.
Doesn't mean that anybody can be a UI UX designer.
Anybody can be a UI UX designer.
even without having this eye for designs.
Okay. That's where you go into, or like, you can be a product designer, but you might not know how to design.
Okay.
Some people lean, most especially people that they don't really know how to design. They'll lean into the research and other skills involved. Design is not something that is very difficult. If you look around us, everything is difficult. Design. Yes, it is not. I would say it's not difficult. Anybody can.
No, I will not toe that line. Design is difficult.
If you put your mind to it, it's not difficult because everything around us is design.
Okay, can I say somebody that has a graphics design background can actually do well in UI UX?
Yes.
So do you need a graphic design background?
Not really, not necessarily. Like for me, I did not come from the graphic design background. I came from the engineering background. Which I say it actually helps a lot, like if you are coming from that background. But many people, you can come from any background into this. All you need to do is understand the basics, understand how it relates to the users, and balance the business needs of the company or the organization you work for. That's what I would say. Because the most important thing in design is using the skills they've learned, using various shapes, colors, and forms to solve user needs, while at the same time making the profits or balancing business needs. That's what design
UI
is.
Designer, right? UI designer.
Yes.
Have there been a time where you've had a conflict of interest between the company?
Every time.
Because there are times where
not necessarily a company, maybe we're working for a client.
Okay, now you've done your research.
Yeah.
Now you've understood the psychology of the target audience and what they want, which does not actually match with the dreams and vision or aspiration of the company. So there'll be a time whereby you have this clash between what the target audience will prefer and what the company wants you to do. So what do you actually do? What do you do?
Well, what you do is,
because one thing with design is like dressing. I can prefer wearing a black top and a blue jean, and somebody else want to wear a white top and a blue jean. You understand? So it's about seeing things from different angles. So how do you handle such situations?
Well, first of all, everybody sees things from different angles. You have to point that out first. But what you have to do is point out to the investor or stakeholder that there's actually great reason why we should see into the needs of the users. Because when you're testing your prototype, they will see the response rate. They'll see that now users are responding better to this product rather than this. It might be that the aspiration of the stakeholder or the investor or the client might be, I want this particular clients that are
I want this particular color.
Yes,
I want
this
particular
work.
Thing to be here.
Well, like when you can actually build that for the person, for the individual, for the client, but once the users or the stakeholders see that this product that this person is building responds better than the one I want, at the end of the day, they will go for the what will bring the most profit or what will bring the most you bring the business goals to forefront, something like that.
The company will sponsor it.
Yes, and you have to consider the time, the sunk cost. That's the time and the money that will go into making a design. It might be that the client or the investor want to go for a particular design because it's less time and it's cost effective. While the things that you might build for your users might not be cost effective. So you have to put it into perspective. Yes, every single thing matters.
So how do you do that if you're working from home?
When you work, it's important. The meetings that you have with your clients and maybe your stakeholders is really important, because you have meetings, you have constant communication with the users and everything, and not necessarily, because sometimes the stakeholders might have a problem with your design. They can come to you personally, or if you're having any issues, you might one-on-one with the people in charge and be like, now how do we go about this? How do we solve the problem? Because it's not only you. You might work. There are actually two companies you might work for. maybe you might work for a startup or you might work for a company that is already established. If you're working for a company that is already established, you have many designers. Maybe you might not be the only designer.
Okay.
In fact, most times if you're starting out, it might be like the junior designer, so you don't really have anything to say or much to do. All they have to do is just for a startup, you have to do everything, and that's where you come into play. If you're a startup, your main focus should be about the users, because those are the people that will bring you up. So, well, when you have established user base, you're a company that you're already established. That's when you maybe can lean into much of the interest of the investors and the stakeholders. But if you're working for a startup, maybe you're just starting out, you're just building a product for the first time, no user base. The users should be coming to forefront. At the same time, even when you're working for a more established company, it's really, really important. You have to, because it's still the users. Yeah, everything you're building is still for the users. So you have to balance it. The key word is balancing the expectation of the business, the investors, and the users.
So how is the job market in Nigeria?
Well,
because I saw recently when somebody said it's better to be a product designer than to just be a UX designer or a UI designer. Because product designer is an encompassing role. A company would prefer to hire a product designer that can do supervisory role, that can also design and also do managerial roles than just employing a UI designer or a UX designer. Is that true?
Well, I would not say it's true. I would say it depends on the company and the needs of the company. The reasons why most of these companies hire only maybe product designers, they want to cut costs. Why hire two people when you can just hire one person to do every work, all the jobs? So it's really important. While some companies, they need that specific role to be filled. Some companies might need that. While some companies might be, we want to cut costs, we'll only hire one person. Let's see how we can combine these roles, and that's how it goes.
You did engineering. That's what you just said. How did you switch from engineering to UI UX design? I know there's engineering design. I know it's not UI UX.
Well, coming back to that, engineering design is actually, if you are good in engineering design, you really understand design. Yes. So that's it. The point is, I came from engineering because, well, my story, I finished that was 2019. That's when I finished from the University of Port Harcourt. So after that, it just caught my interest. Maybe it's because I was around people that were into design. Not necessarily design. Most of my friends were actually developers, so I was just into the space. He was a computer science graduate, so we just worked together, and it just caught my interest.
What's your certificate? Where is your degree?
My degree.
Engineering degree.
Most people.
Are you forgetting about it?
No. See, most people just use it as a stepping stone to other places. Like that's what people do.
Try and laminate it. You understand?
Just keep
it. No, you do UI, right?
Yes.
Are you afraid of AI?
No.
Why? Do you believe that AI will take your job?
No.
Why?
The reason why I don't believe UI will take my job is because AI. Excuse me. AI is because AI is not creative.
Really?
It cannot substitute the uniqueness of the individual or a human being with AI. All AI does is you have to give it prompts. You have to control how it's like the results it gives. So I don't think it will, because the only people that it's going to take their jobs is like Figma operators. that's what we call them in the industry. Like people that just drag Dropbox. They don't solve any problem. They'll just copy designs. Yes, they just copy designs. No. That's the kind of people that, because AI can just do that the same thing. But if you're solving a problem, AI actually helps you solve problems faster.
Okay.
Yes, that's what it to do. It to just all the menial jobs that to take too much of your time, you can just delegate it to AI, and AI
So
will
you
do it.
don't see a future where the cost of hiring a designer, UI designer, will reduce because most of the jobs that the UI designer will do, an AI automated machine will do it. You don't see such.
You still need somebody to give the parameters to the AI. How will you know how would the AI just generate? AI cannot just generate the parameters and just build anything. You need somebody to you need somebody with the technical know-how to program the AI to build it out. And even when they build it out, you have to test it. You have to know the concept, the design concept. So that's what I think.
Now, your final words before we go. If you are to advise those that are aspiring to become UI UX designers, what would you say? How would they start?
Well, I would say first of all, you actually have to do your research before you embark on anything. Not necessarily UI or maybe the tech UI UX or anything in the tech space.
Okay.
You actually have to do your research and be sure that you're ready to make all the sacrifice, because it's not something of one day or maybe 1 month. I see different advertisements everywhere. Become this one in 6 months, become this one in 1 month.
Do you believe that networking and attending events can actually help your journey in the tech world?
Yes, it's really important. It's really, really important.
Because we're organizing one event now, for Uni students. Okay. It's called Tech Advantage on the 14th of December. Okay. We'll be discussing more about this software industry, the new world. Okay. So I don't know, how do you see attending events, meeting with people and asking the right question? How does it help?
It's really important, especially if you want to put yourself out there. Because if you have the skill and nobody knows you have the skill, how are you going to improve your life, or how are you going to let people know? So it's really important that you go to networking.
I believe
events.
you should attend our events.
I
will send an official IV.
No problem.
Thank you very much. On that note, we'll come to the end of today's episode, and we'll be back again on Friday. But before then, do not forget that the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who did not go to school or those who will not go to school, but they are those who have refused to evolve as their environment is evolving. My name is Providence Essien. See you next.